Okay,
Um,
so Connie, your method is you have two Claude Pros and you just like have one do planning, one do.
well, one focus on implementing and one that's right behind it that's doing audits and code reviews.
Mhm.
So I have like a pretty like detailed like task doc that's like broken down to do's, and every single time it implements like a set like a subtask. I have like an audit agent go and be like, okay, do not trust anything this agent said. Like, but based on like what like was just checked off here, did it actually fulfill everything that it was doing, and did it do it well? So then most like it's not like perfect. Like there's been a couple times where I passed back like the review to the implementer and it was like, no, like this is actually not like an issue. But other times it's actually caught things like, like memory leaks and like kind of like bugs like here and there, or, like it has like good recommendations for improvement. So I think like this is kind of a newish workflow for me, but I think it's kind of helped like keep things like the rails a bit better.
Mhm.
Um,
I've had to do a bit of the opposite. So like
mm,
Cloud Code likes to write tests too much. So in its planning, it always has it'll add testing, unit testing, this testing, and it starts to get very slow to iterate. And I often find myself peeling back its testing because I'm making like the most minor change, right?
yeah.
Like something's broken, let's update it. We don't have to run through the whole suite of
Mm.
testing. But that's where I'll sometimes use Cascade, the Windsurf agent,
Mm.
because that's like pretty fast. So I'll just have it write test to a test file, and then I'll have it run test there and analyze it there and give me output to send to Cloud Code. But I have it test less now. So
Oh, nice.
low key very.
Do you guys find yourselves, watching it code and output stuff and kind of making changes in real time, or do you um let it kind of run its thing, go back and look it over? Because for me, I found it's much easier to watch the output kind of coming out real time and make, because sometimes it's like, oh, I want to do this, and I'm like, no, 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 I don't want you to do that. So you have to kind of, you stop it, and then you kind of continue. But yeah, I don't know, because I forgot. I'm sorry, I forgot your name, but you said you had two Claude Max 20 accounts. Hi. So one of the things you said, I'm curious, like, do you let those run without monitoring them, or are you kind of just manning them both at the same
Like
time?
honestly, like, because sometimes like I can force myself to monitor it by switching off auto edit. So then I'm forced to kind of like get pinged back, and like it's kind of like a more like a tricky area or something. Other times it'll be like a domain that I like really don't know much about, and I wouldn't be a good reviewer anyways. Like right now, I'm building like a mobile app in Flutter. I know nothing about Flutter, so I kind of just let it do its thing, and then I'll like manually like test it out and be like, no, this shit broken, and then have it just keep doing it because I just don't really know much about it in the first place. So,
Nice.
but it is true that I have found myself hitting like escape, sometimes when it's like kind of going off.
My biggest like pro tip for Cloud Code is use plan mode. Use plan mode
Yeah.
aggressively,
Yeah.
read plan mode, and then like let it YOLO work for a bit, but then go back to plan mode. Like oftentimes, instead of fixing stuff, it likes to change what it's doing. So I was using an unofficial Twitter scraper like 2 hours ago, and it's like, oh, I don't really have a great CLI way to like use this, and I can't do it full end to end. So it's like, fuck it, let me find a different API, and let me just like change up the whole flow of the app. And it started to just try to go in and implement and do all this, but you have to catch those things. So oftentimes
Um,
it's too far.
Oh,
I'll,
just before,
I'll
okay,
add a few things there. Yeah.
before you go, just so everyone
Mhm.
has names for the IRLs. Connie, introduce yourself and how much do you spend per month? It's like Coders Anonymous. Like,
Yeah. No, I think last month I was something like 1,800 just through Cursor, because well, one was I was building something out for my partner, and I was kind of using his business account, so I was like finding the opus on it. But like now, since they well, I think Cursor has totally screwed up. Their new pricing scheme is idiot, and they like got rid of the cloud discount. So I've kind of just moved entirely away from them in like the last 2 weeks or so, and I'm just now doing the double quad code thing.
and Vivu.
Bibu, he's introduced me. I have fake free access from Anthropic. After their dev day, they give us free 20 max. but I spend like 2 to 5K, but it's free, so there's that. But even outside of that, I do like I have a second and third account, which I pay for. I used to use a lot of the $200 OpenAI codex, but after Cloud Code, I kind of dropped codex. It's pretty bad for me with merging like Git versions and stuff. I couldn't figure that flow out, so but yeah, around there.
Cool. Yeah, so some real power spenders here. I think you might have first place, 2 to 5K.
But free, it's fake.
Nice. And actually, so Aditya, I cut you off, but one kind of like hyper tip is like if you're a startup and you have like these AWS like compute grants, right? They give you way more money than you need. You can plug in Cloud Code to your Bedrock, and Bedrock can. I have like $100,000 I can blow on Bedrock, right?
It's slightly slower. Bedrock has Anthropic. Anthropic API can do Cloud Code, so you can use a lot of credit, but it's slightly slower.
That's brilliant.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the actual like Claude Maxers, Eugene was in town the other week and we went to the Anthropic HQ and we were talking to the applied team and they were basically telling us how much like people at Anthropic use Claude Code. And he's like, people will via like they'll basically SSH into like 6 or 7 instances and run eight parallel versions of Claude codes doing different things. And I'm like, okay, they're cracked. I struggle with like 2. But yeah, people at Anthropic are really maxing this.
I find it's like my own personal context can't really handle so much multitasking. Like I do don't feel that review accountability.
Cool.
Yeah.
Aditya, I cut you
Yeah,
off.
I was gonna go real quick. So I'm Aditya. Hi, everybody. I'm an AI engineer consultant as well. I've been working for like Fortune 50 tech companies lately as a consultant. And I know I read that I spent about $700 last month on a bunch of services, including Claude Max. I just throw down for like whatever, whenever, and like max it out. So I have the pro subscription on OpenAI, Claude Max as well, so that's 400 right there. I spent a few like $400 or $500 a month on Open Router as well, like trying new models and stuff. I'm a big fan of ensembling. So keeping it quite specific to Claude Code. One of my biggest problems that I routinely have to guard against is when it makes a plan, it says it's done the thing, even though it hasn't actually done the thing it said. So I find myself almost always having to inject like a few strings into the claude.md, as well as checking, because as the context goes along, this is like the number one thing. It says it did it, and then it didn't actually do the thing it said it did. So if anybody's got a better pattern, great. 2 things that have really been working really well for me is for the last 2 weeks or so, I've been using the Playwright MCP. And in fact, I even have a fork of my own of the Playwright MCP so that it can inject custom JavaScript and get the raw HTML back as well. And I found it's really good at looping. It eats up the context real quick, but it is really decent at looping. And so you can do like front end, almost end to end with that, which is exciting. Another one I like is called Zen MCP, which actually lets you ensemble the other models in Claude Code. So like in Claude Code, if it reaches a problem it can't handle, you can just like ask O3 and ask Gemini Pro 2.5, and it'll just use your own keys and it'll just ask them. And they'll do, the same problem that Claude Opus 4 couldn't. So Opus 4 is definitely my default. When Claude Code doesn't work out for me, I'm actually a Windsurf user. Am I the only one? Or is anybody else a Windsurf
No,
user?
someone else mentioned that earlier.
Oh, okay, nice. We got a few. Yeah.
I switched a couple days ago on Solidarity.
On which one did you switch to? Oh, you quit or you what?
Windsurf and Solidarity.
Okay. Well, I'm a Windsurf user. I love Windsurf. I switched to Windsurf because of how good the context gathering was compared to Cursor. Every time I try to switch back, I'm like, Cursor's context gathering is not as good. So I'm just like, okay, never mind. What I use Windsurf though, I BYOK my Anthropic key. So I pay with my own money and use Opus 4 and Windsurf as well. So there's that. But it does give you the optionality of switching back and forth. And I really like some of the other models for some things. Like GPT 4.1 is really good at instruction following, whereas Claude Opus 4 is really bad at it. So if you're actually like, trying to do something on the code base where like actually just check A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and just do this, then GPT 4.1 is a much better choice, for example. So that's useful. I did actually build an AI tutor that was a VS Code assistant for like one of my clients. And one thing I realized is that, all the assistants we use, they don't really teach you what they're doing and they all do it really fast. And so I have a system prompt for Windsurf where it actually, every change it makes, it teaches me. and shows me the exact changes at a high level, then at a low level, and then I approve. So it's kind of like I have two modes where Claude just goes off on its own, does its thing. And when I switch over to Windsurf, I'm actually checking each line it's changing, and it's teaching me what it's doing. And I find the combination really effective. So those are the two things I do. I'm almost ready to trust multiple Claude Code sessions, but I did it at a hackathon and it was great at the same time in the same code base. But I think to do it at like work, and it did work out really well. But I think to do it at work, I'd need to understand how like Git work trees work, or like Git Butler, or like just understand the branching better visually. But I'm ready psychologically. I'm getting there. And another thing I want to do, the next MCP I want to be able to share a tmux session with Claude. So it's kind of like Windsurf's Cascade is actually really good at this when it spins up background jobs. Pretty good means quite good when you're vibe coding, but still not 100% there. You can almost always pop the job into your terminal. So if you tell it like, oh, start this backend service, you can like usually shift it over to your actual terminal, so it can continue and you can see the terminal output yourself, stuff like that. So I feel like if I get Claude Code in a tmux session and actually was controlling it, and actually spin up different background services and stuff, then I'd be able to look at what's going on more, like the actual logs and stuff. I think that'd be cool next. But right now, just browse Playdart MCP and Zen MCP.
Aditya, do you I don't know if you're on your computer or not, but if you want to show off like any of your workflows, that'd be kind of cool to see.
Yeah, they're all Claude Code workflows, so I don't know. But I can show you one thing that I just started doing. Let's see if this works out good. Let me just take a look at my desktop real quick.
And I'm also very curious
Freaking-
if I've never used Claude Code, and I only use Cursor and Devin and Codex. So like
Mhm.
I'm getting Claude pilled right now.
It's over, dude. You're gonna switch.
You need Claude Code. You can give up on Cursor. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Give up? No, you can use it inside Cursor, right? I use it in Windsurf like that too sometimes, or that was definitely a bridge. But yeah, it's way more agentic. And let me see if I can actually find my freaking VNC session. So I did actually start doing this thing where I started spinning up VMs, micro VMs, that I can like VNC into, and then trying to like run Claude Code with the browser MCP to like do stuff as me remotely. But this is just like my hack project. But it's pretty exciting. So I'll show it to you guys. Hold on. So and then my idea was that like I would have like a browser extension. Shoot, I'll just show you guys. It's not really related to this topic, but it's freaking cool. Let's see. So there's like a VM manager, and I can spin up VMs. I found this VM from the AI Engineer Conference. It's called Arrakis, and it's like an API. It's kind of like E2B, but you can run it yourself. But I basically set it up, and it's got Claude Code running here, and I'm planning to run Claude Code in the background to run different scripts on my own environment as me. So like here, I'm asking Claude Code with dangerously set permissions to go into like a Google Sheet and try to compose Discord messages based off the members of that Google Sheet. What the hell happened? Oh, no.
Quick question, Aditya. Is this like a local VM orchestration you're doing?
No, this is on Google Cloud.
Okay.
Actually, but I can spin up multiple of them. I decided not to do this locally because you can do it locally with like OrbStack and some others, but just like Apple doesn't have like a good KVM that's like easy to use, and that's why I had to have like a Linux box with access to the KVM layer. That's why I did it this way. But otherwise, I would actually happily have done it, myself. Okay, let me see. Is this gonna work now? Oh no, never mind. All right, never mind. This is broken. I'll send you guys a video or something. But yeah, what normally happens is Claude Code opens up my browser. This is something I've really got used to, where like when I'm using it, it'll just pop open my browser and start doing stuff. So then I was like, well, if we can do that, why can't it just do like everything, like solve captures and stuff? And it kind of can, which is cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
You mentioned you're using something instead of E2B. E2B is open source. You can run it yourself too.
Yeah, I'm using one called Arrakis, which is fun because I like the presentation.
Is anybody here work on front end? And I'm kind of curious whether so I've been doing a lot of front end tickets recently, and one challenge with front end is like, it just looks wrong sometimes, right? The LLMs, like they don't understand visual cues, good colors, so on and so forth. frequently what I do is I do take screenshots and feed it to the model and say, hey, the colors are fucked, fix it. Has anybody kind of like built like an automation loop that like kind of checks like the visual presentation of things? Maybe Walden, you've seen something like this before that can just like verify like, I don't know, like how good a visual output is on a UI.
Yeah, I mean, I think the state of the art right now is like models that are still basically half blind, unfortunately. So a lot of times, like I'll still have to point out things that like I obviously think are visually gross. For me though, I think it's actually been more about like how do I make myself like how do I require less time from myself to review the work? So one thing we do with our Devon is we just like always tell it that whenever you're doing front end changes, you're just required to use these credentials to go log into the app and then actually screenshot the change you made. And like even it doesn't take me out of the loop, but it at least like lets me like without like I'll be on my Slack or on phone and I'll just like instantly see if it's even worth looking at the work. Because if it sends a screenshot that's just like ugly, I'm actually kind of okay like abandoning it, or like depending how close it is, I'll decide whether or not it's worth the effort. And if it looks good, I'll do that. I'm kind of in this mindset where like a lot of these front end task Devons, I'll kick it off being like, okay, if it completes it, that's nice. If it doesn't complete it because it has poor visual taste, then I'll have to like go back there eventually and clean it up. That's definitely something that like we see often though as struggles.
Oh, I do Figma and CG though. So it's like the way I do it is like Figma and CP is actually super accurate if you like just plug in your Figma like file links inside for that specific components. It's usually like 100% accurate,
Wow.
other than the interactivity. But if you're like doing on a production flow base, things you might be considering is like the color scheme that you already have a design schema, like not on color coded. So it's not like CIB, ABC something, but it's like color dot background and something. So the way I do it is like I also put in the cursor roles. So just specify how can you adapt that into my specific code base. And then I have a modified prompt that I always use for Figma MCP, and I just like run that and then let it run the code base and review it. And my current experience is like the components are usually really, really good, but if there's a lot of interactivity function, if you want to like having a sidebar or flows and stuff, it can get wrong, but usually, and I think you can bypass the problem of like LM couldn't see or screenshot by that moment because yeah, for me, it's really high quality so far.
Does Figma have a thing like level code, just kind of generate natural language, or is it like you actually have to know Figma?
I think you do have to do, I don't know about
Yeah.
that. I'm not a designer, I just doing a front.
Also, introduce yourself and how much you spend.
Oh, I'm Esther. I don't know how much I spent, maybe 300 to 1K, but like because I was invited to the cursor 0.01%, 0.01% of like power user events. So like they actually introduced the background agent at the events prior to their launch. And I think the agent is like super interesting that pretty much are running, but even their demo, they're not like 100% accurate. So I think maybe it's still on the way there. Yeah. And I think like maybe, and also I think like most of the stuff that is one shot that is really good, it's like mostly front end that is really good from my experience so far. So I usually do front end because I also create a demo for Cursor sales team about about how can you sell Cursor to other companies and stuff. And the example I picked that I really, really love is also front end because you can like, for the client, they can see it visually immediately. And then also it's really high accuracy comparing to other tasks that involve like DB or involve like other backend functions. So
I'm very curious. So if you're not a designer, and you're like, are you like still just like using Figma to like try to like mock out your ideas, or are these designs coming from somewhere else?
our designer in our company do the design and I plug it in directly and just run it automatically.
Gotcha, that makes sense. And these are like a lot of like new pages and feature screens that you're developing.
Like new features.
That's super sick.
Yeah.
One thing that I think would be kind of cool, and I at least would be like the ability to take like to have Claude or some app cursor take screenshots of like for you and then be able to like insert them into like guides and like content purposes for whatever internal or external. Because I don't know. I hate having to go through my own apps and like screenshot things myself. It seems like a waste of time. So I think someone needs to build something that can do that. It'd be
The
cool.
browser tools has, the MCP has a take screenshot
Yep.
thing, but I find it the connection's not very good. But
Yeah, the ones I found have not been very good.
I tried this. We were stress testing Claude Code on like a data analysis visualization thing. Basically, we had a bunch of city data and we were building charts like a nice front end to just parse through a bunch of data in like both forms. And this was my first like deep stress test for Claude Code where one, I noticed it likes to write too much tests and it's too slow. We limited to like 4 hours of coding. And every now and then it tried to be too agentic and like in doing something, it would mess like a sidebar like spacing. So I just told it to write this thing where every time it reruns a test, it would like load up the front end, take a full screenshot, and then paste that back in. It would copy it to my clipboard. So I would like paste it back into Claude to just be like, here's the output, check it out. And it actually doesn't work well. Like it's pretty bad because it's like trying to do one thing, like, okay, it's like making a chart more interactive and it's messed up a sidebar and its context is pretty waste. So it didn't realize like, hey, from the last screenshot to now, like you've messed up your centering of like stuff and you just kind of broke things. It didn't care. It didn't fix any of that. So I still just like have to screenshot and throw into Cloud Code. Like it worked better than automating this thing. Like you could build a pipeline of like screenshot, annotate like changes and do all that. But like, now you're adding an extra call every time and you're missing your context. The real thing was it just screwed context quite bad. Like I think it was like a really good example to do it, right? You're building a really interactive web app around data and it's all visual. And like you would want screenshots at every turn, but like automating it still wasn't that good. Like what's more helpful is like, okay, if something's fully broken, you give it like the code error of what's going wrong, why it's not like connecting to some API, and then where helpful, just screenshot the little part.
Yeah.
Cool.
Actually, that reminds me. Like, it's interesting hearing so many people talk about MCP. One thing that we've found work really well for some people is just actually like building custom CLI tools that like basically act as scaffolding for their agents. So the thing you were talking about actually reminded me of there's this customer and they have like a repo with like a bunch of tests, but they ran into this problem like, agents would fix one test, but then cause issues in other ones, and you kind of have to like tell it, no, like you messed that up. Um, but they actually have a CLI command, and the CLI command does all of the management of like version controlling, telling you which test is like the next one you want to fix, and depending on when you fix it or not, it will save it, or it'll tell you like, okay, like it actually degraded, and here's like the history of versions. And every single time you call the CLI, it'll reprompt the agent with like, okay, here's where you are, and here's where the history's at, and how you can like get back to that sort of state. And in this case, it is a lot of effort to build this tool, but in this case, they had just like a massive test suite that they were trying to like get coverage on, and so it was worth it for them. So this is a kind of like on a case by case basis, but I do think there's like an interesting trend towards like engineering the like scaffolds that these agents use as like a new territory of engineering.
Okay. I'm kind of curious. So, like on the testing side of things, one thing that I had a background agent do, and Dwij was privy to this. So, Agent Ops, for those who are not initiated, it's an observability suite for agents and LLMs. And a big challenge that we have is that a lot of our customers use tons of different LLMs, right? There's like over 400 that are kind of like mainstream, I guess. And if one breaks, we don't have an easy way of knowing that. So, this classic integration test kind of thing, right? So what I did was just like fire up a background agent that worked overnight to write the integration test suite to us. But again, like there's going to be more LLMs that hit the market. And so like I'm kind of curious, like if there's like some sort of like room for a background agent that dynamically detects new things, you can fire it off, it adds to your test suite. Same thing for UI, right? Like has anybody here used Cypress before for UI testing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Pre-playwright, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's post playwright, I think. And I mean, like, kind of the basic idea here is like you can just like define actions that like a crawler or whatever just like navigates through the page, And I think it's like a handful of startups that are trying to build like automated UI testing agents. The tech isn't really good there, or good yet, but I think it's like kind of one of those areas where like, man, like if I could have a background agent not only write the code, but test that it works and validates front end wise, like the user flow isn't disrupted, that is such a game changer. I don't know if anybody's tried this yet, but no, okay. I think
Do you
I'm a little
think
more, yeah.
do you think there should be one agent or two agents? And the reason why I say this is because I've worked with teams that have built their front end UI based testing, and it works pretty well.
I don't know. I just wanted to work.
So now the team has built some kind of. So imagine if you own your own devices, if you own your own hardware, it's very hard to build. And you own your own apps. It's kind of hard to do that. It's like, okay, you enter this query, you click on this, you're supposed to see this, and then are you able to isolate this, or you highlight this text? This is what's supposed to pop out. So the team has managed to build something like that, and it sort of works reliably somewhat, 70 to 80% of the time. The bottleneck right now is the vision models. I'm not very good at that. Our hypothesis is that, hey, if we fall back to traditional computer vision methods, despite whatever the data lesson says, we're able to get the deterministic results that we get. Unfortunately, though, this agent is not able. This agent is pretty good, but it's very hard to get this agent to write the code to fix the thing. Instead, what this agent outputs is a report of what the issue is and a spec that we hand off to another agent that tries to fix the thing. And then the output of that agent is a CR, which again, the verifier agent will then verify. That works somewhat gently, somewhat decent. If you're comparing it to what it should be, it's definitely not good enough. But if you're comparing it to the amount of effort that human QA or human software engineers spend QAing all these kind of non-deterministic this kind of devices, it's a ton of saving.
Gotcha. Also introduce yourself and
Oh.
how much you spend per month.
Sorry, hi, I'm Eugene. I sell books at bookstore. Specifically, I work at Amazon Books. I'm an applied scientist there. Most of my work is around recommendations and AI-powered user experiences. How much I spend a month? I am basically signed up for most of the Max plans. I use mostly OpenAI GPT 4.5 for writing and Claude Code for coding. Though that's on the side. On the day-to-day, I just use Amazon Bedrock for free, and I think it about averages to about $20 to $50 a day. I don't really keep track because it's really hard to filter out how much I spend. And I can also share with you a little bit of my workflow if folks are interested. Let's say my workflow is a little bit
You think can you share your screen if it's possible, or because I
Sure.
think it's also super helpful to kind of see like what the ditch did, like oh, this is actually how I have the setup going. I don't know if you have your computer.
Sure thing. I do have my computer right now. I just worry it might be boring. But I did, oops, not this. But I did kind of come prepared. So I want to share with you a few things. So a lot of my workflow at work is not, I would like to write code. I really like to write more code, but I don't get to write very much code. I probably get to write code about 1.5 days a week. The rest of my time is really about aligning teams and figuring out what the roadmap is for science and experiments, and I try to delegate the rest. That said, recently I did build an app just for my wife. I want to share with you my process for working on it. And it's very similar to what I do at work. So this is the app I wanted to build for my wife. She's trying to figure out how to do stock trading. And right now the returns are not exactly positive. So I want to help her make more better stock trading predictions. So what happened is I wrote these requirements. I got Claude Code to brainstorm with me what I kind of need to do. All of that was text. All of that was just conversation transcription. And then we boiled it down to requirements. And these requirements, initially, it was double this size. I updated almost every single line of these requirements until it was exactly what we needed. From there, it's very basic. I created a set of to-dos, and now these to-dos are not complete because many of them have been migrated to completed. So my workflow is, okay, take the requirements, boil it down to to-dos. Again, these to-dos, I would go through them almost line by line. I will almost edit maybe about a quarter of it to make sure that it's exactly what I want. So you can think of this as creating tickets for the dev team to work on. Once I have my to-dos, that's it. Every time I just started, I'll just say, hey, Claude, look at phase. Maybe the next one is look at phase 33. Can you simplify the multi-LM panel? And then Claude will just read phase 33 and simplify it. And then once it's done, I ask Claude to move it back to move it to completed dot markdown. So you can see over here, we've gone through phase 38, 30. We've gone through many phases of many things that it had to fix. So all of this was done purely through Claude Code. I almost never open an IDE. I had to open an IDE about once or twice. Oh, and of course, actually I should just show the app actually. I invest. Are you able to see this?
Yeah.
This Chrome. So this is the app that I built for my wife. So various things, and then there's news. I had to integrate a lot of data APIs. Cloud Code is not very good at this. Not very good at here's this API, here's the doc. Can you read it and just write the integration? It's not very good at it. It's not very good at testing it. It will often create mocks that just return expected data that just return data, but actually doesn't return the data. So I have had issues where I created a mock, but I didn't know it had created a mock. So a lot of times I was just trying to get the data, but it's always inconsistent. And then of course, this is just things like pulling all the data and all the news. Can you just return a technical analysis and an investment advice for the person who's trying to run this? So that's basically it. This was built within 2 days. And this was before I even had the Clock Max plan. I still recall it cost me $80 over 2 days. So my wife was like, wait, isn't that pretty expensive? My view is that, hey, for me, someone who doesn't know React and doesn't know Next.js, if I had to build this for you, it would have probably taken me 1 or 2 weeks. So I'm happy to pay $80 to get 10 days back and just build this for you. And essentially, this is how I built it, purely through Cloud Code. Read this phase of to do, just apply it. I think the 1 or 2 times I actually had to open an IDE was exactly what Alex mentioned. The UI changes. It is not very good at UI changes. Many times I actually had to open the TypeScript and actually tweak the padding or tweak the colors myself. Whereby there were things like some of this UI is actually whereby it would leak into each other. So this script here, the heights of all these charts, these are all hard coded by me, as well as the colors. And then this thing, sometimes it would overflow. The position of the buttons, sometimes it will not be right. So thankfully, I do know a little bit of CSS, and I was able to pick that. Yeah, I'll stop here for now. If folks have a question.
This is awesome. And I think like this kind of like makes use of like this idea of planning. So actually, first question, like this planning document, is this kind of like the stateful way of the agents kind of knowing what's done, and they're just like they automatically update the MD automatically, or are you ticking those boxes?
No, I'm definitely not checking these boxes.
Okay.
That's way I would just say something like, hey, read phase 25, right? Something like, read phase 25 and then make a plan of how you can implement it.
Is this
And then
plan not super verbose? I mean, this is like a lot of steps, right?
No, this plan is the original plan was definitely not as verbose as this. The original plan was very tiny. Maybe like the original plan for phase 8 would be something like this, right? Just 2 lines. And I'll say, Claude, read phase 8. Okay, then make a plan. And then you'll make a plan. I'll say, okay, put your plan in, update to do with your plan. And update to do with your plan. Okay, update it is extremely verbose. And then after that, okay, after it's done, okay, move everything you've done to completed. And then of course it will add more things. Like there'll be things like there'll be bugs that we fix. It will just add everything in here. So the original plan I had was like maybe about 12. I think the original plan I had was if we look at requirements, the original plan I had was probably like 10 phases based on the requirements. And you can see like some of these things is just very, very, very basic. And of course, Claude would expand that for me and it would give the plan. I would prune the plan. Very often I find myself having to prune a plan. It would be very comprehensive and that's it. So purely building apps via to-do.markdown and completed.markdown.
Wow.
You don't use Claude.mds and like nested Claude.mds, which is interesting. Oh, there's
My Claude MD is just this for this one is tiny.
Ah.
So this is my Claude.md.
Yeah.
But that said, I have. Oh, sorry, Vigu, go ahead.
Just for background, for those that don't use Cloud Code, when you connect to a repo, one of the first thing it does is if you don't have, if you already have a repo of code, if you're not starting from scratch, it reads your code base, indexes it, and then it writes a Claude.md. And then when you split up stuff like front end, back end, or different features, you can add nested Claude MD files, and these are instructions, what to do, what not to do, and it writes it themselves. But yeah, that's just background for people.
So over here, I just had this simple line. Essentially every time it finishes a feature, I say git commit and push. That's it. Literally, I just type git commit and push. It would actually update the to-dos and update the markdowns completed and just move everything around. So essentially, I'm just orchestrating it and vibe checking the front end. Unfortunately, I don't know how. I don't have a way to automate the UI front end, and I don't know UI, so I'm just checking it myself. That said, I've also, if I may just take one more minute, I've also been trying to figure out how I can use Cloud Code with analyses, and that's a little bit more tricky. And in that case, my Claude.md is a little bit bigger. I'm teaching Claude how to do data analysis with Jupyter notebooks. And in this case, it's almost always wrong. It will insert cells in the wrong order, like always add new cells at the bottom of the notebook. It's not doing this well. It's always doing print when I want to use a logger. It doesn't know the correct path on it. It doesn't know how to use polars. It knows a bit. Everyone's using pandas. I'm trying to how to use polars. It doesn't know how to. It has some basic users of 1DB, and I'll just initialize it. I'll give it the project structure, and I also give it a little bit of context about what model and analysis we're eventually trying to build. And in this case, this Claude MD is a lot bigger. It's like, oh, it's 200 lines. And this is not just it. In 200 lines, we also have docs. Over here, we have documents for the data sets, Amazon reviews. And of course, we have research on residual quantized VAEs and semantic IDs. And the same thing here. This is the to-do. And maybe you can, this is a very, very basic to-do. This is how the to-do looks like before Claude Code explodes it at the point of implementing it. And this is and you can see this is how Claude Code explodes it. My initial to-dos would be the top level bullet points, and then Claude Code would explode it with the sub bullets. Initially I would delete it, but then it would add it back in, and I'm like, okay, I mean, if you really want to have all that detail, it's fine. So that's how I work on that.
Super cool. There's yeah, go ahead.
Eugene, do you think that it messes up the Jupyter notebook because like it just finds the IPy Y and B like really hard to read and iterate on? Or do you think it's like the actual like data analysis problem? Like if you told it to write a React app that did this instead, would it go much better, do you think?
Oh, for sure. I think it's the training data. I don't think there have been very many good Jupyter notebook training data. And I think it's also the sequences. At least my way of doing an analysis is through in Jupyter notebooks, the process of you do one thing and then you go back, you do another thing and then you update the state. I think it doesn't understand that very well. And what I found is that, so initially I was really struggling with it. And when I say initially, I mean on day one of Saturday. I was really struggling with it. Because I tried to work with Claude Code to add cell by cell iteratively, do it step by step iteratively. What I found was a far better approach. I just asked you to make a plan for the entire notebook. So this is a notebook that it created. I just asked it, hey, I've created some embeddings. We want to check how well they're doing, how well they're distributed before we do residual quantized VAEs. And I wrote the plan. It wrote a plan in Claude Code. It was a very extensive plan, like 6, 7, 8, 9 steps. I iterated a review on the plan about 2 or 3 times. After I'm done with the plan, I just asked it, okay, execute. And by giving it the ability to create the notebook from scratch, from nothing, instead of, initially I would create the notebook, I would do the imports, I would do the data loading and everything. I thought I was helping it, but it got it more confused. By letting it try to one-shot the plan, it was way better. I don't know why. I don't have very good intuition around it yet. But as I work on this, hopefully I can learn more. And I've also shared this with people. Maybe I should. I've also shared this on Twitter. I'll post it in the chat as well.
Cool.
Oh, I read this post. Yeah, this was cool.
Thank you.
So I would love, I actually love Walden to opine about the planning bit because I know you guys, I think Devin has like some of the most sophisticated kind of like planning mechanisms out there. But also after we're done to pass it to Parth, who I think might actually hold our record for most spends. Also, Walden, introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Walden. I'm one of the co-founders of Cognition. I was planning to join in person today. I wasn't planning to go through an acquisition today when we.
Congratulations, by the way.
D, I'm actually very curious to hear your more about like how you think about like where Windsurf's strengths are because we're actually thinking a lot about that at the
Cool.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, planning is one of these things where the history of it for us was actually kind of interesting. We at first just like kind of built this agent that just gets straight into doing what you wanted, but actually planning kind of came up, and I don't know if this is like alpha technically, but I'll tell you guys anyways. Planning actually kind of came up as a method of context management because we just found that hey, like if you just do this naive thing where you just kind of like keep working and then you summarize what happens, like I don't know, every like few 10,000 tokens, like it'll like rechange its summary and it'll like slowly like it's like a game of telephone where like it'll like slowly like reword what it was originally planning to do, and then by the end of it, these models forget like hey, what is like the actual ground truth of what I was trying to get at. So planning kind of came out of this idea that let's just come up with something at the start before we just like start burning a bunch of tokens on like writing code and opening files and commit to that. And then when we commit to that, we can go do other things. So that is my mental model for why planning works so well for agents. It is like the like most lightweight way you can commit to something and actually like be able to follow through on it. Um, I also just think like with these agents, I don't know if you guys have ever tried to get it to fix its own code or but almost always whenever I've tried to get an agent to fix its own code, it almost would have been better if I just asked it to like restart from scratch. There's something weird about these agents where, and maybe we as humans also like should be doing this more, but like we're too lazy to. It's like, starting from scratch actually like kind of results in better outcomes. And so this concept of like really front loading a lot of the decision making. So yeah, when we built Devin, we kind of realized that, hey, like if we just really invest in um the like code based knowledge system. I don't want to like shill too much about like how great Devin is and all these things, but like we invest a lot into like, code based knowledge and understanding how things connect so that you can create a reasonable plan. And we also want to give the user an opportunity, if the agent isn't very confident or if the user wants to just like step in and review what the high levels of the plan are, because that is just like by far like user interaction, how much like output you get per like word you have to say is just like way more valuable at that point when you're creating the plan than like at the very end when like all the code is written. It could be an absolute pain. So I'm a huge fan of planning mode. Actually, a lot of what we are thinking about for the next few months is like how do we extend Devin and now Windsurf's capabilities to just like deal with like larger and larger tasks autonomously. And I think a lot of our thesis is actually it's going to be around getting really good at planning and collaboratively planning some of these like larger tasks. So yeah, almost for everything I do now, like we have like a linear ticketing system. Whenever a ticket goes into linear, we by default just like have Devin like scope out some plans for those, and that way you can kind of just like scan through and see, oh yeah, like this sounds reasonable. Like let's just go off and have you try to do that. We're even honestly considering like when we do the breakdown of like which users are like most successful, it is like leans so heavily on like people who like do this like collaborative like asking questions and planning together up front. We're almost thinking about just like reworking our UI to almost like force you to do a lot of that up front. Obviously like just changing the entire app like has implications and might get some people mad, but like that's if there's any anecdote on like how important we found it to be, it's that.
Interesting.
That's
I was saying this earlier, that the most utility I've gotten out of Devin has actually been the planning. So basically saying investigate an issue, read through the code base, and kind of like, come up with a thesis of what needs to be done. I've gotten so much value out of that, especially with ticket management.
Yeah, and by the way, I actually was on the call when you said I wasn't on the call. I
Okay.
appreciate the thing is, I mean, Alex has told us this himself, so he is very honest to us as well. But I think I agree. Like that is like where we end up spending a lot of our time, and I also think it's like gonna be probably like where we continue to spend a lot of our time.
Mhm.
Do we get to know Walden's monthly spend?
Yeah. What's your bill? What's your
Yeah, so obviously like it's kind of weird because like we're paying ourselves. If I had to guess, so I probably I was ballparking it using just like kind of guessing like okay like if like let's say like an average merge PR like cost me like 2 attempts and each attempt is like $7 or something. Um, I think I probably merged around like 100 in the last month from Devon, so I'd probably ballpark it around somewhere like $1,500 this last month. Um, and I also pay for like a IDE subscription, but like that's like tiny compared to my Devon spend.
Very cool. I
Yeah,
think
so
yeah.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say I agree with what Walden's saying there, and my workflow used to be a lot like Eugene's, but I hated it, and so I hated it enough that I had to build my own coding agent to be able to work different, because basically I realized all of like the specs and the docs and how I was building everything was in like Cursor, and I would build it. It would get built pretty fast. And then I give it to my team to test or to look at. And then I have to like rewrite the whole thing in the project management system. And sometimes it would take longer to go and do that than actually just building the whole feature in the first place. And so I wanted a way to have things like have the information about the task like in a place where other people could see it. And I also wanted a way to like iterate on it and to iterate on like the plan with context. And Cursor, I felt has been really bad for that because like you add a file to Cursor and it's not really that the file's there. It's like a suggestion to Cursor. And so sometimes you give it these files and it's like, this is exactly what we need to look at, but it doesn't really look at that content. Um, so I can share my kind of what I built here of how I make that work.
Also
Um,
introduce yourself and your damage.
Yeah, so I'm Brian. I'm a founder, and I spend 1,500 to 2,000 a month on my agent. So here I'll show you guys this. This is not really out to anyone in the public yet. I've shown it to some friends and neighbors and things like that. But my agent here is called Latch Loop, and basically it's like a task-based kind of background agent, but also a little bit maybe more interactive than that because I don't like the idea of like, here's this task and then like it's just gone. You have to just wait and see what happens. And so there's more time like spent back and forth in that planning phase, I guess. And so I'll show like something I did with it today. So here's the task, and you're looking at like the description of the task here, and then you see like the agent's like activity on the side. But specifically, like what I did in this process was I had this idea that we've got this ask feature here, and I had this idea that, well, what if we put some kind of like pill buttons where we can trigger some common prompts, which is right here, because I realized I would always ask the agent here, I would say like, hey, do we have the context for what we're actually going to build? Like, is there anything missing that I haven't told you about? And so then I just had it make this like preset for that. So the feature that I actually built is what you're looking at here to like have these kind of preset questions that you could fill in. And what I came in here was basically like writing this. This was my like initial prompt to it. And then what I did first was I asked it like what would be some other things that I could potentially ask as like prompt presets for a feature like this. Because really like the idea was kind of new in my head. I'm just trying to figure out, well, what is it that I actually want to build? It kind of gave some bad suggestions because it didn't really understand too much context of what I had in mind just from this. But what I did after that is we have this like insert plan button. And this kind of helps you expand on what you just said. and is based off the your actual code context. So as soon as you start working on something, it pulls in the files that it believes are important right away. And then what it did here is I hit insert prompt and it basically filled out all the rest of this. So kind of like what Eugene was talking about. And then it basically gave itself the instructions of like what it's going to have to do to implement this. So it says it's going to have to go in here and do that. And then I hit build, it gets started. It actually reviews it to make sure there's like not too much ambiguity before it actually will start. Once it starts, you can see like it outputting the code here. And I made a couple changes to it. I wanted to have like it started putting the full like text of the prompt as the buttons. And I said like let's make it 2 to 3 words each, and changed how it worked a little bit. And then like so like once it's built, it's kind of like a more back and forth like cursor type process. But I like this because my workflow is basically I come up with some kind of plan, and once I feel like it's enough context for it to get going, then I hit build and I move on to whatever the next task is and just go back and forth with that. Get a bunch of PRs about a bunch of different things. And then after that, go through and look through, see like what's easy to merge, what do I have to take a bigger look at, what do I have to maybe iterate on or try again. And yeah, that's basically how I'm working with it here. But I'm curious how this like feels like something that people would align with for what they want to do in their workflow versus like if it feels I don't know too different. But for me, um, this is I like how this is more visual. I'm a developer, but I started more as a designer, and so the idea here is like I have the rest of my team in this for other products where they're able to go in here and being not technical can describe something that's like a feature idea, a bug, documentation change, and then they can go and make it and have it done in here for them as well.
That's really cool.
Is this published yet? Like, we use it?
It's not published yet officially, but I'd love to get you guys feedback from you guys. So if anyone here wants to try it out, I could definitely give you guys some free credits and let you go wild with it.
I have a question. Is this so this is an editor, it's also it's making these changes through it has an integration with what?
So yeah, it is like its own coding agent. So it's built on top of like mainly I'm using O3 just because I've got a bunch of Microsoft credit still, Azure credit, and so I use that a lot. But yeah, mainly cloud models and O3 is what I use. GPT 4.1 for like documentation type changes and things like that. But yeah, this is really like we built the whole thing from scratch just to make sure it can work the way that we want it to work.
This is pretty cool. I think Yongxuan, let me know if I'm pronouncing your name wrongly. Had a question. Do you have to select the files yourself in terms of
You can,
adding the
so like
context?
you can go in and do that, but it does it on its own. So like we're calling it like instant context. I'll show you a demo here. So if I go back, you can have template tasks. So I have, I think, some color scheme tasks I use a lot. Actually, I don't see it, but I could say like, um, make a new color theme for the user settings. I'll let you decide what it is. And then I can just go here and hit file contents, or I could go and use the other features and it'll kind of work on it on its own. But so it went in and like pulled from the code base what it believes are the right files for that. And normally then I could go on and ask it to improve this or like have a much more detailed plan than something like this. But like in this case, like I could just go ahead and hit build and then kind of just let it get to work with this code. And so like knowing like right now, knowing the app, it's missing the index CSS file. And so I would probably want it to edit that too. So I could manually add that to the context. Once it's working, it may decide to like go and find that on its own and also edit it. But yeah, basically it does its first shot at like what's the best context it can get. Because the other problem I have with some of the like agents and tools I tried is they would spend so much time trying to like read files and find their way around. And a lot of times, like you as the developer, like you know exactly what you want to work with, but it's just this huge pain to like sit there. Like my my problem of like why I built this feature is like I would sit there and like copy and paste back to ChatGPT, and like I had macros to like do that easier, but it was still such a pain of like trying to tell Cursor like look at these files or tell ChatGPT, hey, look at these files. I want to just have like the first shot, hey, like this is where I think all the problem is, and get started on that and be able to know what the agent has. And we also made it so like you can just copy the prompt, which is going to give you all the code context, all of your task, and also a bit of instructions and formatting. So if you want, you can just copy this and like paste it right into ChatGPT if you want like O3 Pro to handle it or something like that.
Super curious about like this is just kind of generally applicable. One thing I really liked about Codex and also one thing I like about background agents and Cursor is you can just shotgun them, right? So you can just like try one of each model. And one thing that's kind of cool about Codex is you can do four of O3, right? So you can just say, hey, O3, I want you to try four separate attempts and then just, survival of the fittest. I mean, I guess there's no, you know, it's not really fittest, it's just kind of random, but
Yeah.
you know, in a world where like the stuff is like too cheap to meter or you don't really care about the costs, when do you start seeing kind of like I guess diminishing returns to just like shotgunning the prompt and just kind of picking the winner versus
I
like
I
this
do
is
that
like
sometimes.
bread, right?
Yeah, I feel like you start to get a sense of like the problem and like the task itself, how big it is, and like what's something that the agent's going to be able to handle or not. And sometimes for the more complicated ones, I'll go and like run that on a few times with the same agent to just go out and pick like yeah which PR is the best. Um, but it depends because honestly, like I feel like the problem that we have now is there's just like too many PRs open. Like right now, even like um, so I
I have
have
this
we
problem
have
too. I have more PRs than I have attention.
yeah. So like there's 81 PRs open in this project itself right now, and so there's just too much stuff to go through to even see. I don't know. So I find myself like sometimes I'll do it once, and once I'm actually working on the task, if I realized, hey, like it messed this up, and like I don't even think it's worth going through and like fighting with it, I'll just revert and try again, or just copy it and make a few more attempts at it, and then see what happens.
Mm.
I think your approach is actually like kind of the right approach depending on what you want to do. So like if you shoot off a bunch of agents, you want some way to verify you're not adding tech debt, right? Like they could all work and implement something, but you
Yep.
want to be able to check that implementation, right? Like what's the right approach? So what kind of changed my thought on this was like Grok 4. Grok 4 heavy is basically shoot off multiple agents on the same problem. And as they mentioned, like sometimes they hit the right approach and they go down different search paths and this works and they get better performance, right? So doing this, like there will be some edge tasks that, you might not get right on the first try, but if you try 10 at once, one of them might work. You just need a way to like check if that works. And like, I don't know if you want to just do that for every task, right? Like little basic stuff like add a new color theme switcher, you probably don't want to do it. But for some stuff where like you're not getting success, we're still in like a case by case basis where like don't
Yeah.
just do it for everything, but for some stuff you should actually try
Mhm.
multiple shots.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think my like decision tree is kind of that like if it's small enough, just go for it. If it's bigger and I feel like it failed, then first is like, did I provide the wrong information or context? And then second is, yeah, do I have to just try it a couple times with the same model or a different model?
Cool. Also I know it's I think I put the party full as 1 hour, but I was not intending it to be that. If anybody wants to drop, you're happy, feel free to. I know this is kind of weird time for some folks in some time zones. Um, Parth, you're looking like super antsy, and I would love for you to chat because I think you
Oh,
actually
dude, it's because I just
have
have
the
talking to Clyde at
record
the same
here.
time.
You want to show yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Parth. I work in the office of Reid Hoffman, and mostly I'm like just rapidly prototyping stuff, pushing language models to the limit, and seeing what they can do. Been doing that for pretty much the last 2 years. And I don't know. I feel like you guys are saying I use it a lot, but it's like that's because I don't do anything but use these tools. So I don't actually have other stuff that I do in the day. And I will say, like, when Cloud Code came out, up until Cloud Code, I was using Cursor every single day and burning a significant amount of Cursor tokens every single day. But then after Cloud Code, my Cursor usage went to 0. And I think the other thing I've noticed is, like, I'm only 1 month into Cloud Code, and the first month I put up 550 million tokens. Yeah, 550 million tokens in. And I'm not really thinking about it right now, mostly because it's like I think I'm like there's this learning curve and this pre-work that you have to do to set up your environment. And I have like a Mac Mini and I have a MacBook Pro, but then I also have a Windows computer at home. And so like I spent the last week just setting up like Windows subsystem for Linux, getting Claude set up here, and then like figuring out how to organize all my MCPs, like because I have most of them set up on my MacBook, which is where I've been programming up until now, but I want them to transfer over here. So I'm kind of like in a setup mode and like getting up to speed, mostly because I think Cloud Code is just well, the main thing it's shown me is that coding agents are more like they're very useful for non-coding things. And when you plug in the right set of tools, they just start, they're like, it's like the best agents are just like the agents that people will end up using are going to be subsets of coding agents. And like the coding agents are the ones that are the most powerful right now, but it requires this like power user mindset and like a lot of upfront work and like there's a learning curve. So Cloud Code was like the confirmation for me that like, okay, this can be used for so many disciplines outside of just making apps. And also, every time you learn one of those use cases, it's like it just becomes a better deal for you to like run up a cloud, like the cloud tab, right? And then more recently this week, I guess I'll show you guys. It's not something I can really screen share, but it's a little fringe thing that I'm up to is this is my keypad on my left hand. So it's basic. This is a keyboard, and each finger has 5 buttons on it. And so basically, like, uh, that's how I control the terminal. And I have a pretty wide monitor. So like the left 1/3 of my screen is Claude. And I know like one of the big constraints I think in this game is how many windows you have open and how many tabs you have open. And I hate this whole tab clutter constraint. So that's why I'm kind of moving away from the laptop because I'm like more, it's like if I'm going to be sitting at my PC, that's where I play video games, then I might as well like apply the gaming mindset to the coding agent. And
Dude, I
so
love.
the buttons, oh, what was that?
All right, I'm just gonna say the gaming mindset. What was it? Sam Altman said the future of AI is StarCraft. Is like managing all these things.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I come from StarCraft. And I look at Cursor and I love Cursor, but like the just like the how much like your eyes are moving between where the agent is and where the code is, and then also the buttons you have to press and how far the buttons are from each other, like Control C, Control I, Control V, control like they're hotkeys, but then you could also cut that down, right? Control C could just be one button. And instead of it being a move, any finger movement at all, it could just be like in this case, I've reduced the friction down to like like half a centimeter, right? So for things that are related to context management, like screenshotting, creating new Claude instances, I just have a button for that, and it's like flicking a finger. I flick a finger up, new Claude agent. Flick a finger up, another Claude agent. Switch between them by flicking to the right. And that's like uh basically I'm trying to get to that like how do I manage like 200 of these and what's the best like way to act like I think humans are the bottleneck and I think the keyboard itself feels like a huge bottleneck. I have a button here that's transcription, right? And that ends up being how I provide a ton of context to the model. I prefer just like rambling. So I'm more in this like let me like deprogram myself from the way we were currently doing work and explore these other like how do I move faster? How do I move like differently through the computer? And then I think after like the I think the payoff is like hit the payoff starting to hit earlier than I expected. Like the I feel more comfortable wielding this stuff. I think what I don't have much experience in is I played with Codex when it first came out, but I just feel like it was incomplete when they launched it. And then so I have to give it a second shot. And I'm interested in running the asynchronous agents too. So thanks for sharing on that stuff. I'm very much human in loop, but also if the number is high, it's because I wake up, I don't even commute. I just roll out of bed and I just start talking to Claude. So
And you're human in the bottleneck here,
yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Also kind of like the AGI pill take that I was kind of hoping to kind of get more inspiration on. Like this is true. I posted in the chat, but 550 million Claude 4 Opus tokens is between 8 grand and 44 grand a month.
I don't think that's right.
But it's like 50
grand.
dollars per billion inputs.
I think when you use the CLI, you're getting a lot of caching, and the cash tokens are way cheaper because we're doing 3.2 billion a month, and we're only spending we're on track to spend 10K this month.
They're like subsidizing it massively. Like
Well, how many
70%.
Mac accounts are you using?
Well, that's
Why-
part of the reason Cursor had to change their plans is because they're not subsidizing them as much or at all anymore, really.
No, I have one account. I mean, I don't think
You just
I get like $100 bill 3 times a day sometimes. I don't know if that's just it switches to pay as you go after. I'm not really even paying attention to it, but
Oh, they have a
using through the API or are you using through a Max account?
Max plan. I have the Max plan. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. I think the max plan, especially if you have the 20, it's really unlikely that you're gonna hit it. It would have to
Yeah.
be a lot in 5-hour increments.
Yeah.
To hit.
I don't think I've ever seen a warning that I've hit it or anything, or maybe I'm not paying attention, but yeah.
you get a warning, then you get thrown into Sonnet and Opus, but
Right.
it's 5 hours and a lot of context window management.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
Yeah,
impressive.
hotkeys, guys. Control C, that's too much. We're doing too much.
I completely agree with that. I think we have to find a completely new way of working with these tools.
Yeah.
And I posted a screenshot of the shortcuts for my agent right now in the chat. But yeah, I believe make it like a video game, like single key for every different thing.
Yep.
And this is why I think
Oh,
that it
this
should
is sick. Oh, this is
That's
amazing.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
this is why I think it should take your actual sessions and emulate your device and do that multiple times in the cloud, because then it can do things as you on your own devices logged in as you.
Wait, is this the link you're talking about, the Heights platform, the one Brian shared?
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's my keyboard shortcuts for my agent.
I need a write up on the hand thing.
The claw.
The
claw.
Oh yeah.
The claw blood.
I'll link it.
The claw.
I'm inspired to
Claude
try it.
claw.
See you, man.
Look, I'm not gonna say it's for me. I'm I'm only 1 week in, but I love it.
On it, so just each.
It's like a
It's like a glove.
it's like a
Turn the
Your
background
background
off.
is
damn it. Now you guys are gonna see
Ooh.
the apartment.
Now
All
we
right.
get
Yeah,
That's
I heard of
exciting.
it before. I
All
haven't
the
tried
quad
one.
monitors going up.
But it's like you can move your fingers forward and back besides up and down, right?
Yeah, so each finger
Whoa.
has flick up, flick down. So there's 2 triggers on each finger down on the downside. You can also press in. So there's so that's how I press enter or I press paste. If I flick this up, that spins up a Cloud agent. The further ones are the ones that I want more friction for. So closing a tab, that would be this button. Escape is on the thumb key here. There's
you
a deep
customize your own hotkeys here?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can map scripts to different keys, right? So
Okay.
Are you playing
it's kind of like
chords or you
if
just
Claude is
have
getting
buttons?
Claude, a lot of the most powerful tools Claude gets, you should probably just also put onto here. Yeah.
So you just
Are you playing chords at all or no?
No, I haven't tried that, but there is a button
Okay.
to switch profiles, so you can switch profiles. So I'm kind of wondering, okay, I only have Claude on here, but what if I want Gemini on here? What's the arrangement here for like switching between even more?
Wow.
And also, I still haven't solved the problem. You can shift left and right? Like shift tab, control shift tab. Instead, that's bound to a button. So I can switch between the different tabs very quickly. But that's still the same constraint of tab management, right? If you had 10 of these, you still have to shuffle through 9 to go all the way around. So I by no means have figured this out. but I want to be able to.
You need like an alt tab replacement for it.
Yeah, I mean, I have alt tab on here too, but
Okay.
because alt tab is 2 buttons, like why should that be 2 buttons if it's an important button? Like same thing, like we have so much of the real estate is like for the keyboard for us to type paragraphs, but I just don't like typing paragraphs anymore. I'd rather just ramble a paragraph. So, you know.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of curious whether you subscribe to this idea of XP waste in the same way I do. Like, are you trying to like optimize all time that something's running, or is it just
Oh.
like standard workflow but faster?
No, I agree with you. I just like I'm choosing to solve this first. I agree with you. Like I get anxiety when I don't have these things running, and I have now a Mac Mini over here that's just got 4 clouds on it, but I haven't yet figured out. Like it's like, do I SSH in from my phone? Do I put them all into a Slack channel? Like I haven't figured out the solution to this yet. But I agree with you. I'm like one of those guys that's like, the opportunity cost of not having one of these things on is pretty high now, as good as they are. So. And I'm talking to my buddies at Anthropic about what the best like what is the best way to do this. I don't know. So that's why that's my main reason for being here is like I'm very human in loop Claude user, but I would like to be like fucking around on the beach, just texting Claude to do things. You know?
You and me both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody have some takes, some comparable Dex? You have something pretty cool.
I can show you guys I have like a prototype, which is like a Tmux workflow for like launching lots of plot. It's just like a couple prompts for launching.
Yeah. Let's see it.
I need the Zoom link though.
Put it on the party.
Is it on the party?
Yeah.
My name's Dex. I work at a company called Human Layer. As we did 3.2 billion tokens on Opus and Sonnet last month, which was I think about 5,000. We've already spent 5,000 this month, but it's a team of 3 people. So we're on track for, I think doing the math, it's going to be about 20 to 30K per person per year on Quad Code tokens. We're still on free credits right now, so we're just token maxing as much as we can.
Are you on the Anthropic credits or the Bedrock?
No, we're on like the whatever 30K of Anthropic credits that you get from some like startup programs.
Can they hear him well?
Hmm?
Can they hear him well?
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, let's get on Particle. This is gonna be, I have like 6 things I can show y'all, but I'm just gonna show the basic one. So there's an open source repo I made called Multiclod.
Hold on, are you in the Zoom?
I am looking for it. Here we go. So this is a thing. All right, I'm muted. You can turn it back on over there.
We're good.
You're good?
Yep. Just mute your mics.
So my mic is mute.
I mean mute your volume.
Oh yeah, okay, we're good. So this was based on a thing I saw XJDR post on Twitter like 3 days after Claude Code came out, which was like running lots of Claudes in
You're not sharing your screen.
oh, you should probably do that. Running lots of Claudes in parallel, and actually like what we were doing is basically like, you know, if you're like main Claude and then you give it commands to like launch like worker Claudes in Git work trees, which is basically each one of these gets its own directory and Git branch like checked out somewhere else on disk. And so this thing is basically going to look at a list of features and like launch all these things and then sit there in a loop like sleeping, waiting for them to commit and then like merge the commits back in. So if you want to write a bunch of features at once, it can just like sit there and kind of like merge it together, and the main one will. I usually use Opus for this one and then Sonnet for these. But I just use Opus for everything these days. But if you wanted to, like, this is has to be the smart one because it's like resolving merge conflicts and keeping track of a bunch of different things. So I just have one shell here. I'm going to clear the context. And this is just a dumb little like to-do app. So yeah, we got my to-dos, make memes, post on Twitter, hang out with Alex, done. And so what this basically is open source, like just like my little hack side product. I keep changing this, so if you want to try this, go for it, but it might change or break. So that's, you know, fork it if you want it to stay the same. but you basically get this multi-cloud directory with a couple personas. These could be cloud commands, but right now they're just personas. Then you get like an example cloud entity. So if you already have one, you would like merge this into your existing one, or you can just use this if you don't have one yet. And then it gives these two commands, and the agent is prompted to run these. So there's a branch name and a plan file, and then you can clean up the branches. So I have, I'm in Tmux, I have a couple windows and tabs here, but I do, I wrote this little file called features. So this is my like pre-plan. This is my like riffing. This comes out of Super Whisper, whatever. I'm just talking to it. Here's all the things I want to build. And then I will tell this one like, adopt the multi-plan manager persona and launch 3 agents for features.md. Then I'll read what these features are. So we're gonna make the background dark and face themed. We're gonna add fancy animations to the to-do list if the two to-dos are created and deleted. And then when writing a new to-do, show existing related to-dos in a subtle color and highlight the related to-dos. I'm not sure how fast Sonnet is feeling today. The TPS kind of varies throughout the day. I think we might be post like peak period. But basically I'll show you what this is working. I'll kind of show you the prompts here. So reading the code base, it's going to create these 3 plans. And so the prompts look like the manager is kind of instructed, you know, read plans in your base prompt, create separate plan files, always commit any changes if you make them because you need to be committed to land in the work trees. Launch each worker and then observe and merge. And there's another persona, which is the merger persona, which is like read the files that have changed in the diff, read the all current versions, update a task list, and then like run the, as you're merging things in, run the checks and stuff like that. And one thing that this is going to want that multi-cloud doesn't do, so do we have a make file? Yeah, okay. So like you can do your setup and tear down if you need things to run. If you were going to do a fresh check out of the repo, what needs to run, it'll run these in the branches. And we'll have a quick look at the plans it made. I don't know if any of you have had this where like if you make Claude too small, it starts to get all like jumpy like that. But let's see. So this, okay. Yeah, here's it made a plan with a to-do list and gave it some rules and how to commit and like what's the success criteria. So let's see. And so what this is going to do is like in a sec, it'll launch all 3 Tmux windows. I'm not going to like actually wait for them to do all of the work. So maybe we'll wait until we get one commit in because it's going to take a sec. But the to-do app here should start to change. If you want to get really fancy, the guys who do Tree, which is like a vector search thing, they have this thing. Has anyone seen Oozy?
No.
They have a thing that like does this as well as in each work tree, it like launches the dev server on a random port. So you can like see each dev server. I don't have that set up yet, but like you could probably add that.
Wait, so is this kind of like the idea, like suppose you're building like a front end app, and, like it has like you run a bunch of different ports that are kind of randomly assigned, or
well, so what this is going to do is it's going to like make 3 new directories, all with the repo checked out, and then start each agent's going to work on its own changes. So I'm running a Next.js server in this like manager repo, so it's not going to see any of the changes until okay. So here's our new thing. So I have it literally set to send keys with tmux to the thing to accept the prompt and proceed. And then it got the initial prompt of like, please execute the plan agent dark space theme.
How do you keep these like how do you ensure that they're kind of like isolated so you don't get into like massive merge conflicts?
So what has worked pretty well is basically, so they're in separate work trees, which means they're in separate, they're all working, but like, yeah, there's a little bit of like nuance, like, okay, I'm not going to have 2 agents do that thing because they're going to be stepping on each other. But basically as you basically instruct them to make lots of little commits. And then the manager agent is just like goes into a loop, like sleep every 60 seconds and then check the branches and see if there's any new commits. And then if there's conflicts, it will sit there and resolve the conflicts for you basically.
oh,
So yeah, here's our first agent started working. I think it's probably waiting for permission to launch the next one. Should probably give it permission to do that all the time. So, yeah, it looks pretty good. These things are going to get to work, and then I'll show you this thing going into the merge loop. But this is something that, like, a prototype of something we've been working on a lot. But yeah, that's kind of the idea. It's like, how can you make it easy to take raw human output? And like, if this was real features, I would go review the plans and like tune them. I think the way we talk about this a lot is like, a bad line of code is a bad line of code. A bad line of plan can be tens or hundreds of bad lines of code. A bad line of research of like figuring out, okay, what is this feature about and where might it be broken? Like, you're like, figure out why this is broken before you make the plan to fix it. Can be thousands of bad lines of code if you're sending bad context in there. And then like a bad line of code in your Claude MD is hundreds of thousands of bad lines of code. And so it's like, the more higher up that pipeline you are, the more leverage it is, the more we as a team are trying really hard to like spend more human time there. That's where the most high leverage thing is. I don't do code reviews anymore. I review the implementation plans and the specs, which have lots of code in them.
Wow.
But the engineers were shipping too much. It was like every day it was like 2,000 lines of code. And I'm like, I mean, I have a bunch of nitpicks here, but if the tests are passing and it does what we want, like, Claude's gonna own it. And it's like, I do believe that like Claude is smart enough to debug any issue that Claude creates. Within reason, like good enough that I'm not worried about like creating weird bugs. I don't think it's been very painful to change the way I think about all this stuff, but like, I'm trying not to worry about tech debt and code quality. Like, our job as like architects now is to like, how do we define the guardrails and the harnesses and like how we determine whether something is working or not in a way that can be automated and used by the model to like make progress against the spec.
And how do you automate this working part and knowing whether something works or not? How do you know something works?
So that's what goes into the spec and the implementation plan is we will write up, and sometimes it's manual verification. Sometimes, but everything that can be automated will be automated, and over time we build more automations. So this works really well for things that are like trivially testable on like headless. So like Jeff Huntley from AMP has this really cool article that I can put in the part of it. He just wrote this today. I saw a demo of this a couple weeks ago. It's crazy. He's literally just like running a while loop forever that is just like read the prompt and cat it into an agent. AMP is very similar to Claude Code and let you just like push a prompt into it and it just works. But he used this to make basically like a clone of Golang without even really looking at it. And the prompt is really just like read the specs, read the source code, read the plan, and then like go pick the highest priority thing and go implement it. And then the loop exits, and then it does it again and again and again. And it keeps updating the plan automatically. So it's just like a very simple, this is like, in Jeff's words, this is the dumbest way to use LLMs. And this works really, really well. So imagine if we were like even more thoughtful about this stuff. You need good specs for this to work. It's exactly like knowing how to tell the model how to verify its work, or having humans with tools to verify the work really, really well. This was pretty easy for us because we are going to look at a web app and see if it worked.
I feel like one of the most painful parts is like debugging Claude code. Like, you have to go in, like, do things manually.
So
Like, I'm surprised you say that like Claude can debug Claude code.
So it's not like while it's running, but if
Yeah,
Claude
yeah.
writes a bunch of shitty code and it's not working,
Oh, interesting.
with the right prompt, you can tell Claude how to research the code and
Yeah.
understand what's wrong and propose a
I
fix.
feel like that's where most of my time is wasted. It's like I feel like I'm stuck there. I don't know if other people feel.
Yeah, no. For me, definitely the bottleneck is just checking whether the stuff works or not.
Yeah.
Because you have to somehow be in the loop sometimes, unless not. That's
Yeah.
great, right? But we're not, I don't think we're at the stage where we can totally trust this code, and so I'm very interested in how people automate testing or automate some form of human in the loop to test behaviors of their application.
I think they write pretty good tests, like the models themselves write good tests. You have good testing for your PRs, which is like you still need human review to see if stuff breaks or is implemented correctly. Like you can have it write a plan, write a test, pass the test, but it could just do the wrong thing, right? So you still need some verification. But tangential to that, what I struggle with is like instead of doing like more active engineering, you're doing more delegation, right? So if I like right now I'm waste, I can use 1 to 2 of these. People can do like 5 to 10. As you delegate more and more to these things, like I don't know how to properly delegate and observe what's going on, right? Like I don't know. So there's an SDK for Cloud Code. I don't know if anyone uses it, but they put out an SDK a month ago.
Yeah, so we're using that, like, so have you seen this, like, basically you can do like add prompt specs into Claude. I'm gonna do this without the loop, but basically, the SDK by default will like output a bunch of JSON like this.
But like, you know, part of this is like, okay, observability company, agent ops, please give me good diagram tracing. We'll build it if you don't. I'll share a link. There's this one like quad super user on YouTube, and a video from today is about like a multi-agent observability. So this guy like does the whole multiple agents, multiple cloud
Do you want to
code.
share your screen?
Yeah, will you share your screen and I can come back to this while front.
I don't know if there's much for me to go through someone's YouTube video.
Just to share it so they can see the video at least.
I'm not in the Zoom.
Can you go to the party poll?
Okay.
What's the?
Or I'll text you the.
I have the party poll. I have the link.
And while we're waiting for Vibu, I think Dexter shared a lot about plans. I think Brian as well and Walden while he was still here. Quick question is, how do you accelerate writing the plan and verifying the plan? I mean, other than just trying to execute, I mean, maybe it's just so cheap right now to execute on the plan and know that it doesn't work, we can reiterate then. But do any people have any advice on what has worked for you?
We have some prompts that help us write really good plans. But they still get human review.
Oh,
But AI,
Okay, we're good.
okay. Keep going. Sorry. Keep talking.
No, yeah,
Continue to
AI can
talk.
write a pretty good plan. I say probably about, with the prompt we have now to build plans, I'd say about 50% of our plans just get shipped to the agent without any like changes. Another 50% get 10% changes. And then like 10% of the plans get thrown out. They're like, this is slop, Claude was having a bad day, let's try the plan again. But again, like we iterate on the plan, not the code. We do way more spec review than we do code review.
Yeah, I found the same thing. I found that AI is really good at writing plans for backend systems and front-end UI. But one thing that's really horrible is plans for data analysis and ETL, whereby I can say, here's the input schema, here are all the input schemas, and then here's the final output schema we wanted to do, but it's just not able to execute on it very well. Maybe it's a skill issue, but I've just been using the same approach, to do's and completed, and with context and everything. I try to feed as much context as I can, but it's just not able to do it as well as backend systems and front end. So yeah, I mean, what you shared was very helpful. Maybe I should just double down on that and improve the prompts for writing plans.
I don't have specific like data analysis planning recommendations, but my general workflow is that I try to write out whatever I have in mind and then ask AI somewhere basically to figure out if there's something that I might be missing where it might be filling in the gaps about things that I didn't want. Because I think most of the places where somebody's like you're vibe coding and then it starts doing things wrong is because you left these holes of like things that you didn't describe the way you want it to be. Maybe you know already, maybe you don't know. But if you can have AI kind of like surface that to you faster, so then you can just add in those quick details, I think it helps.
Yeah, I love
I-
that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. I agree with that analysis. I think that's right on.
I agree as well. After writing a plan or requirements, I would just ask in a new session, hey, read this. Do you understand my intent? And you would say no, and then ask extra questions, and I would flesh it out. Essentially, I'm writing a lot. I'm writing a lot more now just to make sure it stays on track and get to the final thing I want in 1 shot or 2 shot in as little as possible. But I had a chance to talk to Boris while he was at AI Engineering. He's like, maybe you should learn to let go a bit more. And the AI is able to 1 shot it very pretty well if you scope it well enough. I don't know what he means by scope it well enough. But essentially he just transcribed the paragraph of text and is able to execute on it for smallish tasks, not entire system design and everything.
Yeah,
But so that's why
there's a blog post on that about the models, like agents do better when you don't tell them the scaffold and you let them write it themselves. I'll have to find who wrote it, but basically they test this where, you know, if you try to scaffold out, here's what I want you to do step by step, it'll probably be worse than letting the model determine its own scaffold. That's separate from requirements, right? Like, okay, you want like React Flask app, okay, tell it that. But scaffolding up how to solve it, you'll often do worse than prompting it itself.
Yeah, I've also found that just like asking it, you know, like, how do you think we should implement this, or what do you, you know, or what do best practices look like, or you know, shit like that will also help better frame it.
I think for the high level plan, I usually also use like kind of like different models to like, you know, I'll start with like O3 and then like Gemini 2.5 and then like kind of like go back and forth on each other or then with like cloud. So like everything kind of goes through a few rounds of like improvement.
I feel as if like, I don't know, just AGI brain right now, which is like having AI just like, what's the word, pull the ideas out of my brain, right? Like one hard thing about this kind of stuff is just like Eugene, you showed off like this really cool app, right? But I'm imagining you had to put like a lot of mental effort into kind of thinking like, okay, what kind of features does this have? What's kind of cool about it? Like, and I think Waldo was mentioning also like having this dialogue where it's kind of like pulling ideas out of you into forming a plan, and then I don't know, like maybe shotgunning those specs just from what it thinks is good. Transcription, exactly. I think it's like, yeah, the whisper flow stuff. Tejpal, you were saying
Yeah.
oh, so you can introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Tejpal, I'm the founder, working on like an agent arena right now. But yeah.
What's your spend per month?
Oh, it's like pretty lumpy, like 1,500 to 2,000, but like last weekend it was like $600 for like 3 days, which is super random. But yeah,
It's amazing.
and I was so surprised at how much I would like it because I feel like the barrier to just like running agent jobs is like way lower. I find myself just like running way more agent jobs because I'm using transcription. I'll just go like rapid fire through a few things that I'm doing. But basically like Playwright MCP, I thought I'd use it for like front end design and like visual stuff, but instead I'm using it for QA. I feel like it's great to just like have agents just like run jobs for QA. I do a lot of like data analysis work, and I've been creating these like multi-agent systems that are doing like data QA. So they're like executing SQL against a database to like understand like freshness, and like they're like using like different agents like Claude 4 for like executing SQL, and like reasoning agents to understand like data quality. We did a lot of like text and SQL stuff, so a lot about that data analysis. The multi-agent systems are like pretty good there. As just like an aside on Playwright, I've actually been using Cursor for just a lot of like my life operating system. So I like browse through Twitter through Cursor.
What?
Right?
Okay, you got to show this right now.
Yeah.
No, it's just basically like computer use with like.
Can you share your screen? This is crazy. I'm so interested in this.
And it's pretty fun because you can just like see what's like what would be interesting and like show it to me. And then I'm gonna do a bunch. I use Cursor for like graphic design. So like we like fired our designer. And, like all of our like Twitter graphic designs are like we took our branding. So like we had designed once and like got all our branding in there.
Are you doing the React thing where you just like throw out the SVGs and just
Yeah.
use React components for all your visuals?
Exactly. It's now
Yeah.
Wow.
pages and it's just like build Twitter cards from that. That's like much easier. Who else? Yeah,
I've done that. I've done that with the React and the SVGs and creating visuals through Cursor alone. It makes so much sense. It's just so much easier than having to go even create one with AI using a different like GPT or whatever.
Can you please share your screen? This is so interesting. The zoom's on the party pool. This is incredible. Like, Cursor is just becoming the Omni app. Like, that's so interesting.
Yep,
no, it's
MCP is where
Cloud
it's
Code.
at.
Cloud Code's the Omnia.
The,
See you,
Dude,
Caffeine.
Cloud
Thank you.
Code,
just
Cloud
gotta
Code
split the billing.
is my Omni app for sure, for sure.
Cloud
I
Code's my
didn't
Omni app
expect-
as well.
Didn't
Same.
expect anybody to jam for 2 hours on a Monday evening to talk about how to burn money. But this is awesome, and I'm learning so much. And I hope you guys are as well.
Are you gonna try Cloud Code?
Huh? I'm definitely gonna try.
Guys, if you haven't tried an app, if for when you do have to use Finder called Substage, it's a Mac app. You should, and you can basically get the power of any GPT model or Mistral or anything, even Claude in Finder. So you could have, like, for example, move all your files around, rename them easily, all just by typing in this thing called
What's that called?
Substage.
Subs?
Cool.
Raycast is also good, smarter.
Could you mute your?
Sorry.
Oh, someone's echoing.
Um,
Oh, one of the things I had it even do was calculate how many lines of code were in a specific folder. So you could do that too. It's pretty cool. I had over 1 million,
A
which is
million.
like 1.3.
yeah, so I did this like repo where I just like threw in a bunch of our like social content and like past like design work. I basically like build like investor decks, like talk, all of that in this repo. And I can just like, it's like pretty nice to just like build presentations on here. So been using that for a lot of like graphic design. And like I can show like use browser MCP to to tell me what's happening on Twitter today.
Does it use a profile like between runs? Like, does it use it so you can log in and be a human and then it can reuse your same like cookies and everything after you pass the captcha?
Yeah, so I've just been logging in each time, which is like kind of annoying, I think, but it got it this time, but like, yeah. So
If you run the Playwright MCP as a separate service, I have it saves my profile across sessions.
Yeah, I mean, it should
Yeah.
do that.
It just does that, yeah.
looks like it cached it this time. This is like a toy example of like, it's like going through Twitter and like reading things and like taking screenshots and then analyzing that content. I've used this mostly for like QA for front end, but I was surprised at how good it was to like go on Craigslist and like buy something, like look at something. They're like super random stuff. So that was fun.
You basically wrote stagehand with one line prompt.
This is good.
No kidding. Like I was trying to use Stagehand today, and like holy shit, it's like incredible.
Yeah. So let me see. Yeah, multiple tabs. Like what I try to do is I have like different types of models on different tabs in Cursor. So I may do like the same prompt, but with like O3 Gemini 2.5 plus on it, which is cool. And then I'll also do like auxiliary like jobs. Like if I need to clean a build, I'll like have that running simultaneously, which is nice. And then I try to use like Devin for like cleanup cursor work. So like make a PR and then like you kind of create an adversarial game between like cursor and Devin. Like, I found Devin to be way better like analyzing and refactoring and cleaning PRs than to actually like write the code itself.
How do you interface with Devin? Do you just like use the UI, or is there an API that you use?
Yeah, I like the UI a lot. I first was using Slack and then so I thought they did a great job with the UI.
I use the Slack a lot also. It's pretty helpful.
The computer use on their UI is solid too.
So yeah. Can you show me like the designer you fired, like the designs you made? This is so cool.
Well, a lot of them are like investor decks. Like basically, like they'll be like, yeah, you just have like this this repo with like a bunch of. I know this is like, these are like literally like our slides from Cursor that Cursor built, which is like pretty solid. So I like this is like way better to me than like I mean Figma. Yeah.
Big fan of this. That's awesome. I think maybe for those slides I would have used the designer, but
Yeah,
I
for investor deck maybe. But...
for an investor deck, like you want to downplay the style, but
yeah.
for ads and stuff, I'd probably. But there's an interesting company called Layers. They just raised. They're basically kind of like a co-pilot for devs who want to do marketing. So like as you make pull requests and feature changes, it will automatically generate ads, ad copy, photos, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I launched a new feature, or it automatically made the TikToks and the Reels for you.
Oh wow.
But you know, I think a lot of it does come off as slop, but you know,
Did we make like a vote of like what tool people use of Cursor versus Claude?
I think about half of us use Claude Code.
Okay, half of
Maybe a
us.
little, maybe like 60, 70%.
Well, you have to use
70%
Claude.
Code, 30% Cursor.
No,
Is
you
that
have
what it
you
is?
have to use Claude Code in an IDE. So a lot of overlap.
Do
A
you?
lot. It's a term.
No, you don't.
No.
Yeah, you launch it in iTerm or
I
You gotta
use it in.
let go of the IDE. The IDE
I
is
use
fair.
I use it. I
it
use
was
it
a
in.
claw, like
WordPress.
no idea.
No IDE.
A lot of people would love to get the number. For me, it's mostly Cursor right now, just by default, I would say.
But do you want to introduce yourself, by the way?
Yeah, sorry, I'm Wayne. I work on an app that's a lot of data, I would say. So I'd love to share some best practices and also hear from people who work on Django. Not sure if any.
Or we should have Ted here. Ted works on Django.
Okay, cool. Love to talk. But also in Python code base in general, I found a lot of tricks to guide the cursor. I would love to know also. Yeah, I'd love to know. Like, for me, it's mostly cursor.
I think I was saying at the beginning, I use background agents all the time, and I'm about $2,000 a month on spend on that.
Okay.
Yeah, and everybody here is spending a lot. That's like kind of the gist of it. Also, Wayne was one of the original engineers behind AutoGPT, kind of like the first agent ever.
Oh, very cool.
So
Banger.
I asked this question at the AI engineer at the SWE agents track, so I was emceeing it, and I had to like kill 10 minutes because one of our speakers was late. So I was just yapping, asking people in the audience. Basically, we had talks from Claude Code, Jules, Scott was there from Cognition, and I was like trying to interview the audience, right? So the interesting takeaway was everyone is in different buckets. It's not the same hands that go up. So like there were maybe like 600 people in the room at the time, not full, not half full, but different crew for Claude Code, then for Jules, then for Codex, then for Windsurf and Cursor. They were all pretty different units. There wasn't much overlap, and like most people actually like raised their hand and tried to get involved, but they kind of had their bucket. And I was like, okay, who uses like multiple, who switches between, who shoots off multiple? Not that much. So people kind of had their pick and they stuck with it. And then like, you know, we tried asking people, okay, why Jules? Because cost. Why Codex? Because it was first and it was like really good.
What is Jules?
What?
Jules is
The Google one.
Google has one. It's $20 a month. It's Codex, but by Jules. It's
Oh,
Codex by
what?
Google.
What?
They have it's like so Google put out Gemini CLI, which is like Claude Code CLI but cheap. But Jules is Codex through Google. So we had the speaker speak at the blog fair too, but it's basically their version of Codex.
Did you see, because the Gemini CLI has a pretty permissive license, do you see people were forking it and just changing it to use Anthropic models? So you get the open source like coding agent CLI with all the tools built in, but then you can use it with Claude Sonnet.
At the time, there was no CLI. I haven't seen anyone actually really use it much. I know a few people that do for cost, but like most people, like everyone here spends over like a couple $100, you know.
I saw a demo last week from a guy who's in high school, and he added A2A support to the Gemini CLI. And so it embeds in every CLI a little HTTP server, and the parent has a tool to launch children as subagents. And then not only do the subagents communicate back to the parent, which I think is in all the coding CLIs now, but he set it up, he prompted the subagents to talk to each other. And so the parent prompts the front end agent and the back end agent to like keep in touch about what they're building so that the interface matches up when the work comes back.
That's amazing.
So there's 2 blog posts that came out a few weeks ago of like Cognition saying don't build multi-agent systems and Anthropic
Yeah, the
saying
context engineering thing.
no, separate.
No, yeah, the
maybe-
multi-agent thing was, they changed
Yeah,
the
yeah.
title of the post to context engineering after Andre tweeted about it.
Really?
I think that was what happened.
I think they put out 2 posts, but point being,
Alden was here, we should have asked them.
point being,
Yeah,
they say that it adds complexity and they lay it out
Yeah,
pretty
sorry,
well.
the subtitle
Yeah.
is Principles of Context Engineering.
But like they lay out why like the orders of complexity and issues that could go with raw multi-agent systems aren't ideal. The reason,
Multi-agent is trash.
but you know,
I think it depends on the use case, like,
Yeah.
if you're doing a lot of text and SQL, like, all the literature and text and SQL is like multi-agent. It's the best papers, but if it's a very specific task, you can orchestrate multiple agents to do specific things, then it works very well, but
I think,
I
you know,
haven't found it used.
The only thing that we really like sub-agents for right now is for like research tasks. Because it limits the context window of the top agent, and so the top agent is prompted to launch sub-agents for different categories of research. And then we literally in the top agents prompt, we say, here is the prompt to give to your sub-agents. And that way they compile lots of information and then they give it back compressed to the top level agent, and then it can produce like a really good report.
so for that specific use case, Anthropic put out their paper on how to do deep research. And they're like, do multiple agents, because this is all separate parallelizable stuff.
Yeah.
Like you're shooting in different domains and then you can just combine back. So 2 good reads, but multi-agent for the hell of it is odd.
Well, people just say more, there's a lot of like academic hype around multi-agent, and it's like, yeah, you can like hill climb one specific benchmark, but I think in practice it leads to chaos unless you're really, really careful about it and use it for like, the one thing it's good for is like controlling and limiting context, because like the smaller you can keep a context window, the better results you will get, as long as you still put all the right things in.
Like if you have one agent doing a bunch of like schema discovery, you know what tables to use,
Yeah.
and like once it found the table, all the schema discovery is useless context. You want to go to another agent.
Exactly, yeah, so we kind of like throw away all of the, if you know you're gonna pull a lot into context and only some of it's gonna be useful, then yeah, sub-agents for sure.
Yeah.
Sanjay, he's been super quiet and has his hand raised.
Oh,
Hi everyone. Yeah, I was listening to every one of your workflows and it's been crazy. So just wanted to share my workflow, and then kind of while sharing my workflow, I wanted your guys' opinion on it as well. So a quick background about me. I've recently graduated. I completed my bachelor's in AI as well. So a crazy new thing that I was just trying while you guys were sharing your workflows as well is that Kimi K2 was just launched on Grok. So while we are discussing about this thing, so I just had an agent running. Like I just switched my Cloud code to use Kimi K2 by changing the endpoint URL for that. And I believe that it's either the level of models, the intelligence of models, if it's that better, or if we have less intelligent of models, but we have higher amount of repetition, it will get things done as well. So that was the thing that I was doing right now. But how I do it right now is I just spin up cursor. I just spin up Claude code on the side as well. And then rather than one Claude code terminal spawning multiple agents, what I do is I just open my walk and I have my parallel tabs on top of it, and then I use Claude each terminal for one specific task. And how I use background agents is just for it to research the next thing is going to work on while it completes the first thing. And why I do it myself right now is it's not that I've completely mastered a tech stack. I'm continuously learning as well. So I cannot go and directly say that do the best of it. So I rather go and research and learn, understand it myself first if I'm exploring a new tech stack. And then I understand the best use case from itself. And then I understand that, okay, yeah, this is how I need to continue working on. Because I believe that it's how intelligent you are, the better you're able to prompt the models. If I don't know the background and the context and the history of how this thing works, I'll not be able to use Claude to the extent of it. So I did an experiment last week. I built my own Claude SDK, used the Claude SDK to like connect it to a GitHub and all of that. And I just wanted to understand if how I can delegate my own client work and let Claude handle the entirety of it. And just ask me for permissions on Telegram or Slack, and it'll just approve it. And Claude communicates with the client itself. So the good thing was it completed 80% of an MVP, and the client didn't even know that it was not me who was talking with them. And the GitHub was tied up to Vercel. It had two URLs, dev and prod. Prod one was with the client, dev was with me. And it was just I woke up and the client is half satisfied. So I mean that was a good thing that I did recently as well. When I start to do my workflow, when I start to code, I just found out few prompts that work well when my workflow is stuck. For example, let's say it does not work, it's stuck in something. So I just reflect on 5 to 7 possible sources of the problem, distill those down to 1 or 2 most likely sources, and then add logs to validate your assumptions before we move into implementing the actual code. So when I write this with like anything, even if you use Cursor, you use Claude Core, anything like that, this prompt has given me 100% success rate as of now. Like even if it's stuck,
Hey, Sanjay, I have a question.
yeah,
Have you ever tried using Ultra Think or the different types of thinks
yeah.
as well?
Hey, what's
Okay.
up? Oh, dude,
When I switch to plan mode,
you gotta get Claude
yeah,
Code. Well,
yeah. Before switching on the plan mode, what I do is like I have my Claude.md, I have my cursor rules. So what I do is that rather than just telling it to explore widely on my docs, I'm like, this is the problem that I'm solving. Let's say I'm adding auth. So I was just adding billing to an MVP I was building. So I was like, okay, I'm going to add clerk, and I'm going to add clerk's billing and clerk's email as well into this. So I have all of my docs. So first so I use ribgrep instead of the normal grep. So I just tell it to, just find out which of these docs is most likely helpful for you to do this task. And then I tell it to, then go and read it rather than just filling up my context on those things. And then I use it to, just ultra deep think, find it out, and then it gives me a proper plan mode, and then I do it. And what I've done recently is that I use Stagehand a lot. I don't know if you've heard about Stagehand.
yeah.
Stagehand is a crazy good automation tool. And like what I do is I parallelly build with Stagehand. So let's say, okay, my backend is done, my APIs are working. I have my Stagehand parallelly building on top of it as well. So Claude knows how to run Stagehand to get the current state of my web app. So okay, auth is done, sign up logging pages are done, dashboard is done. So anytime it adds a new feature, it runs the Stagehand's workflow, and it will then open up my browser, check console logs, take screenshots, and then add the next feature, run the workflow again. And my cursor rules are set up in a way it's TDD, a test-driven development. I write my test cases first.
You share it running?
I
I'd love to see these.
Sorry,
Could you share your screen of this running?
which one? Let me.
Just like anything. This is so cool. Like the whole like having stagehand be kind of like this interface. That's so cool. So interesting.
Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yeah, we can see
I
it.
Yeah, we can see it.
just have to check which of my cursor window has everything. Okay, so I have to open my MCP list. Okay, it's connected. I just run a workflow once again, but so what I do is once that thing is running parallelly, it knows how to verify its own stuff. So after it moves and completes the task, it then I used to use Taskmaster a lot, but
Mm.
what I observed is that how simple you keep it, it's actually more beneficial for me. Let's say even if it takes a day for me and 3 hours
Yeah.
is me researching and understanding it. But if I just prompt it slowly, get small things at a time and not overburden Claude or myself on top of it as well. So I get like 1 week of stuff done in one day rather than in few hours. But I know that whatever I get done in one day, I don't have to come back and repeat and fix things on top of it as well.
So you think Taskmaster is like a good system, but it like clouds the context? Once you learn how to work in that way, you don't need it anymore, and you can be more efficient by just doing it yourself.
Yeah. Like I'm more efficient in doing it myself as well. And the more I do it, like I think the more I delegate to Claude as of now, as at my current stage, it's just that I'm hindering and not putting in effort that I need to put in myself. Let's say if there's a programmer who has 10 years of experience building stuff, it's okay for him to delegate some part, because it's not as if Claude was going to stop working from tomorrow, his work would be damaged. He can still do it. But the thing is, if I rely too much on these, like at a point I'm going to be blocked, and at a point there are going to be so many bugs, and I don't even know which part of thing that Claude has done, and it's giving me those bugs. So I do it very slowly as of now, but I find huge success in it. Like, okay, this thing is working. Let's do parallel on it. And I think Grok 4 has one of the best tonality of sense in like explaining the stuff to me. So I just sit a few hours just talking with Grok, no code, just tell me what is the best industry practice in this. How are top companies doing it? How are top companies handling that? How does scalability work in these things? Okay, I have these tools available to me. What's the best thing that I can do with this? And I share my thought process with it first, and I tell it to critique it. So I know that, oh, this was such a simple thing to do, but I just didn't know about it.
Thanks. This is very cool.
So I mean, it was crazy good to learn from you guys as well, like your entire workflow. But I'm just going to experiment a lot on the thing that I'm working on. Let's say delegating my Claude to my clients directly, because at the end of the day, it's I'm at a stage where I am an API between Claude and my cursor. So it's just me. Please fix. This is what I'm doing. Copy paste stuff. So I was like, if I am the API in between, I might just connect these two and let them do the talking. And I'm insanely happy with it. I'll show you the WhatsApp messages as well between this is the client I'm talking about. And like so the WhatsApp MCP as well. So I have that connected.
Oh my God, I love that.
That connected as well, and it has my tone. And I'm so obsessed with automation as of now. Let's say N10, or like I had access to Comet, and I was talking with, like, it was crazy that Aravind texted me 2 days ago. Like, he quoted my tweet on Comet, and he was like, it was such a crazy workflow, because what I did was I had to go shopping, and I didn't have time because I had to go to my classes. So what I did was I opened up my Comet, and this Prime Day, the Amazon Prime Day going on in India. So I was like, this is my budget and this is what I have to do. But the prices are inflated every time. Like, I don't know if this thing is worth this much, or if they've just put in the Prime Day label and I'm just doing it. So what I did, I told Comet to like open up multiple tabs, just go on to any price tracker, check if the product that I want, the prices for that are the same, or what is the percentage drop. And then this is my total budget, and these are the clothes that I want, these are the electronics that I want. Find out the best deal, add it to cart, and then ping me. So it's like I had my breakfast, I had my shower, and I had my cart ready. So it's the Comet is good as well. So
this is the AGI pill content I was looking for. This is so cool, dude. All right, y'all. Not expect to yap for this long.
Yeah, I gotta get going.
I think we all gonna head out. I mean, Brandon even here kind of chill. If you want to give like a quick thing, I don't know if anybody else wants to opine, but like we could probably start wrapping it up. Thank you all again for joining. This was sick. I hope this was helpful, right? Did everybody learn something new?
Yep.
Did I keep it high alpha enough? I hope. Maybe
This is a great crew. I think you
Yeah,
really
it's great. It's great. Learning so much.
It was
from
amazing.
people. Yeah.
Good to talk with you guys.
Thanks for organizing.
Is it
the Zoom
possible
stuff.
that
we'll let Brandon?
is it possible that we create a Twitter group amongst us, and then if there's anything we can share on top of that over there?
I like this idea.
We'll
Make it happen.
We'll create like a mastermind group, and we'll share some pages. But you can only talk to it through the MCP. on cursor.
Let's add a validation on top of it, like request sent through
Oh
send
my
to
god, I think
MCP
you
will
went
be
to
accepted.
Holy.
Yeah, hello, I'm Brandon.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm a founder. I'm not a technology tech background. My background is biology, but I learned how to use cursor and everything to build some prototype recently. So from last year, I think I have to build the prototype in person, and then my design team and engineer team will refine it, refine it into a whole product. Yeah, so I'm the people to do the prototype. So I have to write the backend, the client, and some small service. So most of the time, my workflow, because I'm not a computer science student, I don't know which one is the best practice. My workflow is I have to open 3 cursor, 1 cursor for backend. I think maybe yeah, final and anyway, 1 cursor for backend and 1 cursor for client, maybe some Swift, and I have to open the Xcode. Yeah, because if I wanted to build something, I have to use the Xcode.
So you edit in cursor and then build in Xcode?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I also use when before Cloud Code, I will open another cursor to build some small service for testing some front end thing, maybe something like that. It's yeah, just recording something. Hello, yeah, maybe something's wrong. Yeah, for some small service testing. But now I can use Cloud Code to do it. Let me open the terminal. Yeah, but I'm sorry, everything is Chinese. Yeah. Yeah, I will use
The Claude understand Chinese?
yeah, Cloud can understand
Wow.
Chinese. Yeah, it's amazing, right? Yeah, so I can use Cloud Code to do something. So I think it's much better than I have to open another cursor because I already have 2 cursor and Xcode. So open terminal is more convenient. Yeah, that's all of my workflow. And yeah, I think it's very good for someone like me. I don't study any computer science lessons, but I can use cursor and cloud to do something.
What are you trying to build? What is your project?
Yeah, my project is I'm trying to build a new WhatsApp something.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think in traditional way, the WhatsApp, I think maybe everyone need a personal assistant inside the instant messenger.
Yeah.
So
In-
that's my idea.
In 2020, like 2019, I read an article.
Yeah.
It was like, it was a guy who had built a iOS app just for his family to chat on. It was a private app. He owned the cloud, everything. So it was like fully private, no end-to-end encryption, whatever, because you didn't need it because only people in my family can get in. And he said there's going to be more and more custom SaaS like this. That was 4 years before this AI thing happened. And now it's like, okay, cool. Is everyone just going to like vibe code their own WhatsApp?
Yeah.
What do we need to get to that world?
Yeah, I just write a prototype because I know building an instant messaging system is so difficult. So I have to have some excellent engineers work with me. Yeah, and I'm so lucky. I don't know how to code, but I raised $10 million for the project.
Wow! What the fuck, dude?
So thank you for large language model. Thank you for web coding.
Wow! Wait, are you a solo founder?
I have a co-founder.
Okay.
Yeah, and he is the CTO.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's super impressive. So you're non-technical, but like you probably output a similar amount of work to what he puts out.
Yeah, but I only work on prototype because I don't know how to do some good engineering.
Wow. But that's important, like from product perspective, like being able to be like, okay, here's what we want. Let me go show it to people, figure out what's worth building, and then you can go do it.
Yeah, because initially I have, if I wanted to build a prototype, a prototype to test some concept, I have to co-work with the engineer, a designer, and 3 of us, maybe backend for 1 week or 2 weeks, and finally we can develop something, right? But now I can do it maybe overnight, and in the next day's meeting, I will share my screen to my team, and okay, do you like it? I will, you can, most of them think, okay, it's sexy. Oh, we think, let's do it. Yeah, and it's much easier than write a product requirements document. I don't like to write something like that. So I just randomly tried with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will give me a plan, and I will copy the plan in Cursor, and the Cursor will help me do everything. And finally, after I release the prototype, our team can understand what it is, because sometimes even I write the
PRD work in details, they still can understand, but if I show the prototype, they can understand. So like how we work. Yeah.
Super cool. Well, anyway, I'll close it off. Everyone, this was awesome. I'll follow up with everyone to make like a Twitter group chat. I hope that's, or maybe we could use your app instead. Yeah, you can use the MCP to chat with it, or then use the claw. Have a button on the claw that lets you interface the group.
It's like the bat signal for the group. It's just
yeah. I'm thinking maybe we could do this again in like, I don't know, a month and a half or two. Like I think a lot of stuff will have changed.
What's the name of the group?
So I'm kind of like, I think vibe coding is actually a little derisive. I don't think that it kind of captures the idea of like how high potential this stuff is. Like vibe coding is kind of like, I think like these no coders, right? Who like, no offense, but like folks who really don't know anything and they can build an app in Replit agent or whatever. But I think that this, I'm calling it hyper engineering, where like you really are kind of like
Hyper engineering is good because vibe coding sounds like someone shouting in V0 making web apps. And I think what is happening in this room is more like what I've seen elsewhere is like the best engineers I know using AI to ship 50,000 lines of good working code every single week. And it's very different from what people think when they hear vibe coding.
Yeah, I think hyper engineering might be the neologism here. It's just like, man, like no XP waste, just like optimize your life and your workflow just to getting stuff done ASAP. And like, how do you scale yourself, right? Like, kind of my philosophy here is like you have an army of Einsteins that are just waiting to be tapped, and the cost is de minimis, and just so much cool stuff is happening. All right, anyway, hyper engineers.
hyper engineers, baby.
All right, well, we'll do it again. Thanks everybody for joining. This was super fun.
See you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for putting it together.
Yeah, let's try to work on.